Hello world, Ijoma O'Neill is my name. I've reached a point in my life where I'm looking back and thinking to give back what I thought I should have had. All my life, I wish I had someone who talked to me, held my hands through the stages. I would have done better than I did right now. And so I think I owe it back to my younger self to have a conversation. And the Onpurpose podcast gives me that platform. While talking to my younger self, you're listening to our conversation. And I believe it can help you wherever you are in your 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s. I'm 52 right now. And I intend to talk this way as I get old. So the seasons will change. The conversations will get more intense. But I know that I've lived enough to give you certain nuggets that will help you in your life, building your faith, building your career, building a loving family, making you healthy, and also investing wisely. I hope that you follow us through this conversation on the Onpurpose podcast and it will be useful to you. God bless you. Hello, Ijoma O'Neill here, and welcome to the Onpurpose podcast. Fresh episode, and I'd like to build on the conversation I started last time. I said we're on a series discussing leadership, and I talked about Nigerian project. And I concluded by challenging us to be long-term thinkers, that to be leaders, the primary tool for leadership is a vision. And vision usually requires from us to think long-term and then to build systems and processes that leads us to our destination if we see them clearly. So I'll talk to you about something that I have done myself and that everyone can do. I believe very strongly that we're put in this earth to bring about positive change in the lives of people and in the society where we operate. And so God's plan for man is dominion. God's purpose for man is for the man to bring about heaven's culture here on the earth. It's only sad and painful that we have only given these things religious interpretations. And so most people, all they think about when they are talking about God is making heaven, when God's plan is for you to make earth just as heaven in all ramifications. And so it's important that if you're bringing God's purpose to bear on your life, it must be such that it does not only influence your life spiritually, that it influences your mind mentally. God wants us to think excellent thoughts, to be wise, to be well-informed, to bring products into this world through our well-refined minds. God wants us to have useful and loving relationships. He wants us to live a healthy life. And of course, He wants us to prosper financially. And these things don't stand on their own. So if you go to some places, even countries that are seemingly godless by our own definition, have made far more godly advancements in terms of excellence than the so-called religiously entrenched continent of Africa, where at every turn you have a church, and yet we have so much moral decadence. We have almost nothing to show for technological advancement. It's as though we've loaned our minds to just copy whatever is sent to us from the West. But we should do better. But where does it start? It starts first by recognizing that, you see, leadership is God's strategy. God called a man and invited him to dominate, commissioned the man to dominate. But how that project is going to come about, which is dominion, is only through leadership. Only through leadership. Leadership is not reserved for those in positions of authority like the government officers and all the rest. Leadership is a call, is the how. It's only through leadership. On another episode, I'll be talking to you when I talk about leadership as discipleship. Basically, if you don't understand what I'm saying, you will never materialize your dreams. So, in the first episode, I defined leadership as the capacity to influence people and situations positively. But the functional word there is capacity, and all capacities can be developed. The nature of God that is in man gives the man the potential of God kind result because he has the God nature. He can create things like God did. But to do so, he has to develop a capacity. That innate potential that is in him needs to be developed, processed. Look, a little child, if I call you out today and I give you a weight to carry, maybe 80 kg or 250 kg pound weight to carry, and you cannot lift it, it doesn't mean you don't have the ability to lift it. It means you have not developed the capacity. If you keep doing push-ups and lifting smaller weights and do that consistently over time, the same you who could not pick it up the first day will get to a point where you'll be able to lift that weight. So where did that strength come from? It was always in you. But it's through development and exercise that you learn to do and develop what I now call the capacity. My definition of capacity is that it is proven, demonstrated ability. You see that? So every one of us have the innate ability to lead, but we need to develop the capacity to manifest that leadership that is in us. And if you want to take a journey from where you are to the unknown to something better in the future, it starts with a vision. It starts with a vision. It starts with seeing that destination. And not just seeing it, also believing that it is possible. Believing that man, I'm talking about your own personal vision now. If you see yourself as an excellent, godly, intelligent, happy family, healthy man who is rich, if you see that vision of the possibilities of your potential fully manifested in adulthood, if you see it and you believe it, then you can take the journey. So the journey to greatness starts with first envisioning greatness. First, seeing what is possible. Not just seeing it, accepting it, being convinced that it's possible. It can be a vision for a company. It can be a vision for a ministry. It can be a vision for the nation. No matter what vision it is, you must first conceive that possibility, that idea, and believe absolutely that it is possible. And not only that it's possible, that is possible through you. So it begins with faith. Faith in the vision. Faith in the vision. Being completely convinced that that is possible. Let's talk politically now, for example. Do you believe that a better Nigeria is possible? Considering all the problems that the country has gone through, there are people who have given up hope, and so they think it will never happen. And as a matter of fact, when they speak their despair. They speak, they've given up. They tell you, how many have we seen? How many? They just don't believe anymore. But you see, if you believe that this country is possible to change, and that you are a significant player in the process to bringing about a change and bringing about a better Nigeria, then your attitude will be different. You see, so it starts with faith in the vision. I said to you that vision is a primary tool for leadership. If you don't have a vision, you don't have a clear picture of a destination that you're taking people or even yourself to. Without a vision, you're not even compelled to commit to the process that leads up there. Now, a person who is sold on a vision usually looks different, usually talks different, usually acts different. Somebody who is sold on a vision. Now, if you have satisfied the first condition, which is absolute conviction and belief in the vision, then it is now the vision's turn to shape your life. That vision that you are convinced absolutely about will cause you to realign your entire belief system, your mental wiring, your belief system, your attitudes and behavior. Once you are sold on a vision, it happened to me. In my mid-20s, I had lived my life very carelessly until then. But my mid-20s, I knew it was time to stop joking and get real serious. And I knew the place to start from, which was God. But I never knew that, going back to God was going to, that I was going to encounter the possibilities of my life and to give me a specific direction that has set me on this course until standing before you here and peeping my eyes into this camera. I'm still hoping to pass that same conviction to you. But it happened. Once I realized that everything about my life was geared towards serving God in the capacity of a minister of the gospel and teaching people to lead their life purposefully, that vision changed everything about me because I was sold on the vision. Because I was sold on the vision. Somebody who is sold on a product, when they talk to you, trying to sell the product to you, what you buy is not primarily the product. You first buy their conviction about the product. It's actually that thing that makes you buy the product. If somebody is not sold on a vision, it shows in tiny inconsistencies. They probably are up today about this same conviction. Next tomorrow, they are doing something else. The Bible says that a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. And so, once I was sold, I looked at my life and I could tell that everything in my toolbox up until then, my abilities, my experience, everything, good, bad experiences and all of that, I discovered that everything was wired to ensure that I was the right person to do this thing that God has convinced me in my heart and through a vision that I was supposed to do, which is to lead in ministry. And so I abandoned everything for this one thing. And I thank my God at that time I was not married. I have not committed to permanent relationships. That's what I mean. Because once you have committed to permanent relationships, when you have not discovered a vision for your life, you can make mistakes because you would always have to carry the burden of finding other people or even persuading. It's not a life you persuade people to join you to do. So I was that guy. I resigned my job, and I'm not asking you to do that. Everybody's path is different. And I realized that because I have been consumed, persuaded about the end of this vision, I had to pay the price. And I didn't consider it sacrifice. To others, it was sacrifice. I could let go of things that meant so much to a lot of other people, young people my age, who were aspiring at that time, maybe to pursue a career in law, pursue a career in this, some were traveling out of the country. Those were not the things for me. All of my life, being sold on this vision of my life, was now focused on this vision. And I began to give myself to development. I told you, all capacities are built. Just because you have the ability innate in you to do or be a kind of person doesn't mean you are that person. You need to be processed. And as I said in politics in my previous podcast, the average Nigerian does not respect this journey, does not respect this process. He wants everything now. That's why you can be given money and you would vote something that is not your conscience. That is why the new job in this country right now is to look for a political leader and follow him and say, yeah, you see them, they lack direction, they lack ideology. They jump from one political platform from the other because they believe nothing. They all have one goal, just to make money for themselves. That's the goal everybody has. That is why the most popular mantra in politics in Nigeria is that there is no permanent friend, no permanent enemy, only permanent interest. And obviously, it's only permanent interest for their own personal gains. So what is the biggest dream of the average Nigerian? Is to buy or build a house, to drive a good car, to send your children to expensive school, basically to show other people that they are comfortable financially. If money is all that you want in life, if money is your vision, you don't have one. No, you don't have one. If what you live your life for is not so as to become the salt or something that makes other people's life upgraded in quality. Because when the political people talk about empowerment, what they call empowerment is people sharing envelopes to them on a long file. That's what they call empowerment. And that's far from empowerment. Or somebody's in the office and he says, this boy has followed me for so many years and he buys him a Corolla. That's what they call empowerment. You can tell that they have no long-term thinking at all. No long-term thinking at all. But if your life begins with a vision, the vision will condition you for a singular path for the rest of your life. For the rest of your life. That is my journey. And you are the first person that vision is supposed to reflect on. If you are not sold on the vision, it will show in your life. There will be nothing, and I say so, there's nothing in my life that I cannot give to the cause that I represent as a visionary. There's nothing. There's nothing. There are people who take positions of leadership and act like they have some vision they're building, but you see them that they cannot sacrifice for it because, I don't even call it sacrifice. The reason that they cannot sacrifice for it is because they don't see the end better than what they have. They don't see it of greater gain. But I'll go to the Bible a bit. Paul writing says that I may know him. This knowing says, in the fellowship of his suffering. I don't think many believers want to know him to fellowship with him in suffering. But Paul says, in the fellowship of his suffering, and then he says, in the power of his resurrection, being made conformable unto his death. Can you imagine what Paul is saying? Think about it. I want to know him and suffer everything he suffered, so as to attain unto the power that brought him out of the grave. That way, I am conformed to everything he died to. That's a visionary life. And once it is the vision first, it is the vision first before the next stage, which I'm going to talk to you about, which is the people. Now, the people who will follow you, remember I've talked about faith in the vision, okay? The people who will join you, because it's not a vision if it can be accomplished by only you. The people who will join you to build that company, to build that nation, to build that business, to build that family, if it's your spouse, those people who will join you are the family that you have. They are the family. Now, what will cost somebody, or what will make somebody to give up everything they know and follow you because you said you had a vision? It is not the vision that makes people follow the visionary. It is the visionary's conviction about the vision that makes people follow the visionary. Look, if you get this, you'd understand why it is not about oratory ability. It's not about speech. It's not about your eloquence. It's more about how you yourself are sold or given to the vision. To the vision. You say you want to build a company, but you still keep a side job. And then you work 2 weeks and you have somebody who's working with you stay in the office in 2 weeks. The other 2 weeks, you are out there somewhere working offshores. What do you think is going on in that man's head who's sitting on your table every day when you're out? He thinks you are playing safe, but you want him to give his all to this project. That's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. It is once you are sold out completely to the vision, you become the vision that the other people see and believe in. Because they see the vision manifested first in how you behave, how you talk, what choices you make, how strict you are on yourself with regards to this vision, how compliant, how submitted, How disciplined you have become as a result of this vision. How that you do not even have alternative or options. No matter the difficulties that you meet on the road, you find a way. If you walk closely to a visionary, you would experience certain things. Sometimes they may seem to come across as being very unreasonable to you because they do not cut themselves those slacks you are expecting them to cut you. They do not make those excuses for themselves that you're expecting them to understand when you're talking to them. They have given their all. Jesus said in the Bible that no man who has put his hand to the plow and looking backwards is fit for the kingdom of God. He says hesitation has no place in a visionary life. Once your hand is on the plow, this is what you're giving yourself to. The people who are going to make that commitment, the most important thing to them is their life, to lay down their life for this cause. They must see that your life is sacrificed on the altar for that cause. So is the vision first, and now the people. The visionary, number one, must be sold to the vision. Number two, he must now cultivate a people. And how does he cultivate the people? This is the real journey of discipleship, which I said in the first video, that discipleship is God's strategy. I think it's in this video I said that discipleship is God's strategy. Leadership is God's strategy for dominion, leadership. Because you have given yourself, you have become a resource for the people around you. It means you can dip into you and pour out into the people around you. It means that you serve as an inspiration to them, and you are the kind of person that can cultivate their potential, see them and believe in them, make them believe in themselves. And over the years, they begin to see and believe the things you saw first and believed. They go to other places and find out their life is improved. They are different. People who used to keep company of people go there and they cannot engage in the conversation because it's far beneath them now. Because in association with you, a lot has changed. Now, remember, if you are not sold on the vision first, you don't have the reservoir of the deposit of your own development out of which you want to cultivate them. Because really building people or building the team for the vision, because after the vision is now the people. It's never the people before the vision. It is never. As a visionary myself, when you're recruiting people for the vision, you don't want to beg them because they must come with something first, which is their own desire to be a part of it. Because if you beg people to join you, you continually persuade them to stay. So it is the vision first, and then working on the people who will constitute the executive team of the vision. They are the ones who will help you to carry the product or the message or the philosophy to other people that you reach. And so they must become your primary preoccupation, investing in them as you are growing. Investing in them as you are growing. So the people follow. Why did I show you this? I've seen a lot of people who think that because they have a sort of novel vision, they think it is the presentation that makes a vision great. And they take you into a room and put on the slides and show you what's going to happen in the next 2-3 years. They think that excitement is enough to persuade you. And they suddenly want to sign you for a lifetime. They say, are you ready to make commitment? No. I have not seen the vision in you. Now, some people think that if they have a true vision, what they need is resources. That's the third part of this conversation. And they're looking for money. And many leave this vision to go and look for money, and this vision will stay there on the papers, on their shelf or at home for many years. And before they know why they're pursuing money, maybe keeping a job and saying one day I'm going to retire, I'm going to do this, build this company, and at the end of that they have spent their entire life procrastinating, never really getting down to the work, rolling up their sleeve and building the life that they want because they thought that they should put money over people. No. I was talking to one of my associate pastors recently, and I told him that we think differently in an aspect. Why you think you want to do a good thing, which is like, oh, look at what we are doing. We require money for it. And so because of that, I'm running around and doing businesses so that we can have money to do this. I said, no, I do not see you as a financier of this vision. The first thing this vision requires is yourself, is you, your presence, your sacrifice of your life. That's what it requires. First, money will take care of itself. So just as the people commit to the vision because of the life of the visionary, the third part of this equation, which is money, resources are attracted to the vision because the vision is now useful to people. And it is the last part. You can build a thing for 10 years before it scales. And your scaling is your coming out party. When a company scales that has very sound vision, strong leadership, and the right team, when they scale, they have the structure to sustain the expansion that happens. And most people who are looking from outside will think the company came to limelight in the moment that they saw it break out to the public. Whereas there's a lot of work that has gone into it. The visionary has spent many years building himself and building a team, building systems and structure. And now when they scale, you find resources come to the vision so easily. Now everybody wants to be a part of it. This is when the company is going public and everybody wants to buy from it. Before it goes public, first of all, there's initial public offer, initial private placement, where known and well-established investors are buying pieces of the company, and then they take it to public offer. I was listening to a businessman and he said, when a company goes public, it's already too late. Because the people who come because you are popular, they are not the fundamental team that raises the work. But to build that team, you must first, as a person, die on the altar of the vision so that they see your commitment to the vision and then they are able to follow you. And if you're able to raise the team, the people, then I don't know how long it takes, but somewhere you're going to break even into massive resources. And when you start to multiply your system and your people, then you can see exponential growth. And that is the process to greatness. So if you're going to reconstruct a nation like Nigeria that has gone on the wrong tangent for a very long time, the momentum of corruption in this country is very high. To stop it requires a real confrontation. Some might call it revolution. My prayer is that the people who God has placed on this path to lead it, that they are not just leaders, they are great leaders, but they are also well-educated politicians. Sometimes you must build alliance in some ways in order to get certain things to run. So I think I've said enough. I'd like to stop here and continue in the next episode. All right, see you again. God bless you.